Welcome to Bones to Beards podcast with Brian and Chad, where we dive headfirst into the world of hunting and fishing with a healthy dose of humor and humility. Well, Chad, I got scolded last week by McClellan, and come to find out, she told me that I said in the first episode that was her first buck. And I said, well, I thought I said that was your first rack buck. She said, no, go back and listen. So I went back and listened, and I did say first buck. So that was not her actual first buck. Her first buck was, we had actually went to, I think we were in Selma, Alabama. Yeah, definitely were. And we were hunting on River Swamp up there. And McClellan, it's our first deer, actually. And it happened to be a buck. So McClellan, one thing I was worried about, I never got a chance to operate with a gun because I was worried about it scaring her and things like that, the noise, the kicking and all that. And I really had not bought her own rifle yet, so we were using my 270. And the funny story about how we got her to actually shoot it, because the whole time she was talking about, I don't know if I can shoot that gun. I don't know if I can shoot that gun. It's going to kick. It's going to be loud. And luckily, somebody else that was up there with us, he had his son up there, and he had the same problem I did. He had never shot, so he had actually brought a 22 with a scope on it. And he had a suppressor on the end of it. So when you shot, you hardly heard it.
Right.
And so we set up a target, and she got used to using the scope, and she got there and, fired it, and she was right on the money. And she was like, this don't even kick.
Yeah, it didn't hurt either.
Yeah, it didn't hurt. This is going to be easy. And it's not loud, so she was worried about taking earplugs, even though I should have brought some for her, but she was worried about that. But heck, it doesn't even sound loud. It doesn't kick. So I said, all right, we're good now. So we headed to the stand without the 22. We headed there with the 270. And I can't remember how old she was, but she didn't think anything about it, So I didn't say anything. I said, well, she'll know after she shoots if we get a chance to shoot. And the guy was there, he said, shoot anything you want. And this place has gigantic deer. On that river, they're just huge bucks, and the does are huge. And I was just trying to get her first doe. And we get there, and the first thing that comes out is a little old 4-point. So I text him. Or he actually texted me, and he said, you see anything? I said, well, we're sitting here right now looking at a little bitty old 4-point. We're going to wait on a doe or a bigger buck. He said, hammer down. He said, that child has never even shot a deer. He said, let her first one be a buck. I said, are y'all sure? I said, y'all don't let me shoot anything but 8-point or better, I know.
Right.
And it has to be so many inches wide. And I'm like, you sure? And he's like, man, go ahead and do it. I said, all right. So we set it up. It's a perfect. She's actually going to sit in my lap. I've got the gun up. It's on carpet in the window. And this shooting house, by the way, is on the edge of a plot that is on a bluff. And that's the thing I forgot to say on the way there. You've got to go along this edge of this bluff to get in this shooting house. Well, this bluff drops like 40 feet straight down. So it's scary getting in the hut to begin with.
Right.
And she finally, we kind of had an ordeal with that, before we even got in the shooting house. But anyway, back to the buck. She gets there, and he said, shoot it. And she was all excited and everything. I said, just take your time. And she gets there. She's got her finger on the trigger, and I'm kind of worried about it, because I know it's going to kick and it's going to be real loud. And she fires away, and that buck just drops right there, and she just starts screaming. She's excited. She's about to jump out of the window. She's ready to get down. And I look at her, and I go, did it hurt? She goes, yeah, it hurt. And she said, you lied, too. This ain't the same gun that we used earlier. And she said, and loud? Oh, my gosh, it was loud. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, we just kind of made you shoot the other one where you wouldn't even think about it. She says, "Oh, I'm good, Daddy. I could shoot it again." So that was a good first deer and first buck. Talk a little bit about your daughter's first deer.
So we were hunting. It was 4 years ago, and it was youth weekend. I took her Friday night, and we didn't see a deer. So we went back Saturday afternoon because she's not really a morning hunter. It's very difficult to get her out of bed. So we're sitting there, and we had 7 or 8 does on the food plot. And I was trying to get her a buck because kind of what you were hinting on, your first deer being a buck. And we sat there, and it got to be about 4:30. I said, "Baby, you want to shoot one of these does?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm ready." I said, "All right." So I picked out one and told her which one to shoot. She shoots. She hits it. I clearly said, "All right, we got that one." She runs off. So we're sitting there. She's like, "Daddy, can we go get it?" I said, "No, we need to let it die. We'll wait about 30 minutes and we'll go check for blood." So we're sitting there waiting. I started hearing all this commotion in front of the shooting house. And I'm going, "Dang, what is all this?"
Was I hunting right beside you that day?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah, you're right there. And by the time this deer runs out and its guts are hanging from underneath it, and it's got a coyote chasing her, I said, "Oh, snap." So I grabbed the gun going to shoot the coyote, and I bumped the side of the hut, and the coyote ran off. Well, that deer goes and lays down in the middle of the food plot, and it's just looking around. I'm like, Lord have mercy. Chase is like, "Daddy, what is it doing?" I said, "Well, you going to have to shoot it again." I said, "Because it ain't dead, and it's going to take it a while." So that was just a crazy experience because I knew she hit it. I didn't know exactly where, but she split the guts right open. And
just a little bit back, huh?
Yeah. And that coyote, what was more amazing than everything is how quick that coyote got on that deer.
Right.
Because she was bedded down and ran it right 20 yards in front of us. So not only was that her first deer, it was kind of traumatic.
Right. I mean, to see all that hanging out, and that's your first deer, and your child, and I don't know if there's a difference in a boy seeing guts or a girl seeing guts, but
Right.
I know how they reacted when. Remember, I told the last episode how my daughters reacted when that one Maddie shot was sitting there just wailing and wouldn't go down, and just it's just something about them still moving around and stuff.
Right.
So.
And she didn't even know what a coyote was. She thought Wile E. Coyote is what a coyote looked like.
Right.
And so to see one out there, so it was a good hunt. It was very memorable for me.
Right.
So,
and that's what we talked about last episode, that it's memorable, not just to them but to us also. Well, tell me a little bit about your first hunting experience.
So my first hunting experience took place in Choctaw County, Alabama. My dad took me and my youngest brother Travis up there to a buddy of his camp, and the guy goes, "Chad, I'm going to put you on this good food plot towards the back of the property. We're going to have your dad and brother overlooking this bluff." Well, there was a beautiful green patch with a brook running on the edge. Beautiful setup. So Dad and Travis get set up because I literally had to walk by them to get to where I was going. Well, before I head to where I was going, the guy goes, "Hey, Chad, just make sure you got your head on a swivel. We've seen some bears out there." Oh, God. I don't even think I'm a teenager yet. And I'm going, "A bear? Oh, God." So I'm walking to the stand, and it was thick woods. So you're walking, and it's just getting dark. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're just like, oh, God. It starts feeling eerie. I climb up in the stand, and I'm looking around. I said, "Nah, I ain't doing this. I'm not sitting here." So I get down, walk back to where my dad and brother are, and I'm sitting there with them. Travis falls asleep. We had a couple does walk out, and Dad goes, "Chad, you want to shoot?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So he let me put the gun on his shoulder, and I shot. That's my first deer experience.
Right.
So I shot the doe. Well, it woke Travis up, and he was mad, fit to be tied. And that all happened all because I was scared of a bear that may or may not have been there.
Right.
But just that thought.
I get it. I got a bear. I got a few bear stories myself. So it's, as a child, they're not that fun.
But Travis was hooting and hollering. Like, I mean, that little joker was so mad that I shot that deer. He's like, "You killed my deer. You killed my deer." I said, "Well, if you wouldn't have been asleep, you could have shot too."
Now, was he asleep already when you came back?
No.
Or he knew you were there, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he fell asleep
Okay.
while I was sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Well, my first hunting experience, if you want to call it that, my dad wasn't a big hunter. He loved to fish, and we did a lot of flounder fishing, when I was, smaller. And he didn't do a lot of hunting. So if I got to hunt, it was actually getting invited and being able to take me. So the first experience we have, it is 24 degrees. There's ice on the ground, and it is we're dog hunting. So I'm excited. I'm not really that cold, but I can tell he's freezing, because I'm so pumped and ready to go. And I look like the kid off of the Christmas Story that's got all those clothes on, that's walking around and can't move.
Right.
Now, I look like that now. But, I'm excited. I'm hearing dogs in the distance and all that. And my dad, I'm ready to kill a deer, or I'm ready to at least watch him kill one. I'm standing there with him. I'm not by myself. I'm hunting with him. He wants to keep warm by boxing. So he draws this little square in the frosty ground as our boxing ring. I'm like, what are we doing? I'm a kid and I'm all excited about hunting. I'm boxing. And we're sitting there and he's like, "Oh, come on, man, put your dukes up and do all this stuff." And I'm thinking to myself, what are we doing? He loves now, and he's told it forever. "Man, my first hunt me and Brian did together, we were so cold, we were boxing." And I want to go, "You were cold." And, I was a little cold, but I wanted to deer hunt.
Right.
But he's wanting to box. But it's a story that he tells all the time. Wish we'd had it. We didn't have any deer come by, that's for sure. Even
Right.
So, we're sitting there boxing. He's making noise, and just one of those things. And I'm really wanting to hunt and, really learn how to hunt and do that type stuff. Well, what was it like? I know you said you started by yourself. What is it like the first time you really hunted by yourself and stayed by yourself hunting?
So the first time that I went and sat in a hut by myself, Dad carried me to the hut, dropped me off. So do you remember those, I forget who makes them, but they called them the doe bleat can. You turn it upside down.
Right.
So this is close to opening weekend. Well, I've watched a bunch of hunting shows, and they say, turn this can over, and the bucks are just going to come in. So I'm sitting there. It gets daylight. I start hitting that can.
100 times, right?
Probably close to it. I did it. I did it about every 15, 20 minutes for about 4 hours.
Right.
Dad comes back and gets me. He goes, "Well, did you see anything?" I said, "I didn't see a deer." He goes, "I wonder why." I said, "I have no idea." And so I told him what I did. He said, "Son, I don't think this was the right time to be using that can." But that's the things you don't really know as a youth.
Right.
You see it all on TV. You don't understand the rut, but as you get older, you're like, man, that's
you learn when to use it and when not to use it, right?
Correct. So it was pretty funny thinking back on that, and to this day, I don't want to use one of those cans.
Well, my first hunting experience by myself kind of goes hand in hand with what you said about the bear, because this is what happened. We went to, here we are, my dad's not a big hunter, so we get invited to hunt somewhere else. So we're actually going to my uncle's hunting camp. So the whole time we get there at nighttime, and we're going to hunt the morning. So the first hunt that I ever do by myself is in the morning. Well, I don't like that because when they let you off, you don't know where you're going. First of all, you get these stories, walk down here when you see the crooked limb on the big oak tree to the left, take a right, then walk 50 feet. Then once you get to the bathroom tree, take another left. I'm like, oh, please give me something better than that because it's dark. I don't know what y'all are talking about. They're hunting there forever, so they know exactly what they're looking at. I have no clue.
Correct.
But that's, I hate that part of it. But the other part, we're sitting in the camp house, and we're sitting on these couches and chairs, and they got this coffee table in the middle. Well, it has tons of hunting magazines. Well, I think they purposely put 3 hunting magazines on top, and all of them dealt with bear attacks. So, one magazine it's got this grizzly bear, and they got up in the right-hand corner, they're talking about this, somebody got just mauled by this grizzly bear, and it's got, all you can see is the grizzly bear's mouth just wide open, dripping with snot and spit and blood and all that, and you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. So, I'm like, all night I'm sitting there, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? I'm thinking about the bear. And they start egging on the story. Well, we've seen a bear down here. We've seen a bear down there. And I'm like, this is supposed to be my first one by myself.
Set you up. They set you up.
So they had planned this, and I'm sitting there, I'm dying. I think I'm probably, I don't know how old I'm young, but it's the first one by myself. And I get to it, and I finally get to the tree, and I look, and I'll go like, well, where's the stand? This is the tree they were talking about. And I walk to the other side of the tree, and the stand has, and I see a rope hanging down, so I know this has got to be it. So this has got to be where you got to pull your gun up, It's got spikes into the tree. So I look, I take my flashlight, and I point up, and I go, oh, my gosh. I'm thinking, I'm going to a hut or something like that. This tree, I guess some kind of oak tree or something like that. I don't know how high it is, but as a kid, it probably wasn't 15 to 20 feet, but as a kid, it looks like 40.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to just climb spikes all the way up to it. So I tie my gun up, and I get up there, and the whole time, I'm climbing, I'm thinking about bears the whole time, So I climb the spikes. Then you got to stretch around to get it. And all it's a platform. That's all it is. It's a platform that you sit on. There's no sidewalls. There's nothing. So you get up the platform, and they put these 2 boards there where you can at least lean your back up against it and have some type of, but you're sitting there on a platform. And the food plot looks like it's 100 yards away. And I'm like, gosh, if I'm going to shoot a deer on the other side of the food plot, I'm going to have a 200-yard shot. It's immaculate, but it's just crazy. And so, there's these things, going through your head. I'm thinking about the bear still. And, the thing about a morning hunt, you don't know when they're coming to get you, what time, so it seemed like I sit there forever. But I see some does and stuff, then you start hearing noises to the side, so all you think, bear, bear, bear. So I really didn't enjoy myself.
Right.
Because I'm thinking about bears the whole time, because they've put that in my head the whole time. And, I'm thinking about the height of it. But other than that, it's just, I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
I said, it's got to be better than this.
It's shocking you ever went back. A lot of people wouldn't have.
Well, when you get a better experience, you'll go back to it a little bit. And I had some better experiences after that kind of made me love it. So, that's one of those things where you're just scared the whole time as a little kid when you're hunting. You're really not. I know we were scared in the woods as kids, but are there anything as an adult that you ever been scared as an adult?
No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I will say this. My mom tells me all the time, she's like, Chad, as scared as you were as a kid being in Boy Scouts and hunting and doing things in the woods, it is so shocking to me that you hunt and you go in the woods at night or early in the morning when it's dark. She said, I can't believe it. And every time, like when she watches Chaseley, I come back and she's always bringing that up to me. I said, yeah, Mama, I just grew out of my ways. Because, well, you know what? I do got a scary story in the woods, and you were there. It wasn't really too scary, but when we first started turkey hunting together, you was telling me about the rattlesnake that hit your boot that first time.
Right.
And we're in the woods. It's like 4:30 in the morning. You said, all right, we got to go. We're going to get to the back of the property, and we're going to listen. And so I pulled my flashlight out, and you said, nah, we don't use flashlights. We walk in the dark.
I remember that now.
Yeah. And you go, do you got snake boots? I was like, no. No. And we're not just walking on a clean road. We're walking through some Jap grass and some thicker stuff. And you was like, just step where I step. And so that, I mean, nothing like scared me.
Right.
But just having the fear of a snake biting you, because you had just told me on the way there about that big rattlesnake hitting your boot. And,
right.
And so that was, I don't want to say an adult, but I was older.
It's in your mind, so you're thinking about it.
You're thinking about it, but
Right.
that was in the woods at dark. But once I got me some snake boots, you know, you kind of feel, I don't want to say fearless, but you don't think about it as much. You're just going.
Right. You still look down and kind of watch where you're going, but you don't feel as like out naked, you know, if you got snake boots on.
You're not as vulnerable.
Right, right. Well, I got one episode. I don't know if I was, well, I think I was scared. I'd already hunted. I was actually hunting a food plot and started walking back. And, you know, it was when I hunt somewhere, I park as far away from it as I can, you know, and I'm trying to walk where I don't disrupt anything, not make a lot of noise. And that's why, you know, if I'm hunting, I'm parking way away, and I'm walking. I love walking. You know, the dark doesn't bother me like it did as a kid, but, you know, I'm walking, and I'm walking back, and I hear this awful noise. Never, ever heard this noise before. When I get down, too, before I get down, I always take one out of I take it out of the chamber.
Correct.
You know, I stay loaded because I have had some coyote experiences where they've been on my butt. This wasn't a coyote experience, but I start hearing this noise, and I'm thinking, what is that? And then it starts making a snorting noise, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's a big buck. Or maybe it might be a hog, but, you know, I hadn't heard of any hogs on the property. And then I start hearing stuff fall. It sounds like trees are falling. It sounds like, you know, just something is just crashing. And it's getting close.
Bigfoot was coming after you.
I thought about Bigfoot, but here comes the bear again. I'm thinking bear again. I don't know what it is about bears, but and I'm thinking, all right. And it starts getting louder and louder and louder, and I'm going, oh, my gosh. So I throw one back in the chamber, and I start walking backwards, you know, and I'm on a clean road walking out, so I'm not worried about falling, but I'm hearing it, and it just starts, rah, 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 and it's noises, it's snorting. I don't know if I got some big monster buck mad at me, and it's coming right at me, but stuff is falling, and it sounds like Bigfoot. I mean, I've never heard anything in the woods like that before. Never. And I've hunted for a long time, and I've never heard anything like that. So I picked my step up. I am, what they call it, speed walking?
Yes.
I am doing that with a rifle in my hand, and then it turns into a slight jog. I'm like, I got a long way to go. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. So, you know, that's the only time I've really... I don't know if I was scared. Yeah, probably was.
Yeah.
I probably was. I had no idea. Well, that's a lot of first. But tell us the last big buck or last memorable hunt you've had.
So the last memorable hunt I had was this past weekend. Me and my buddy Bullock, we went up to the Delta and was pig hunting. So we were cruising the Delta by boat looking for pigs. And believe it or not, it was kind of early afternoon. We spotted a group. And so we creep up and we get to the boat and we're stopped. And he goes, all right, man, let me know when you're going to shoot. Pick one out. There was 4 sitting on the bank. I said, all right. So I pick out the biggest one. And I said, all right, I'm about to shoot. So I shoot. Well, I think I hit it. Like, I'm confident. Still to this day, I'm confident that I hit that pig. He said, you missed. I said, why you say I missed? He said, it ran off. I go, well, that don't necessarily mean a miss. He said, well, they're still over there. Let's go around this bend and come back to the other side and see if they're over there. I said, all right. So we did. We didn't see anything. I said, come back. Let's get off and look. So he pulls the boat up to the bank. He goes, hey, I'm going to let you go look for blood. I said, all right. Not thinking whatsoever. Step off. First boot goes 6 inches of mud. My second step is above my knee.
You got to find them roots to step on in that swamp.
Oh, yeah. I learned that. And he starts laughing and he goes, you see any blood? I said, nope. He said, why don't you take a couple more steps? And I just start laughing. I'm like,
you can't.
I'm stuck in the mud, man.
That's a bad feeling in that
so
swamp.
I ended up I got out and got back on the boat. He said, you didn't want to look no more? I said, buddy, if they ain't laying there, I ain't getting off this boat.
I don't blame you. Well, my last buck that I shot this year was on opening day of gun season, this actual 2024 hunt season. And what's special about it, this last buck that I shot is the biggest that I've shot on our own property. And, it was, we've let our place grow up a little bit. We don't, like I said last episode, we don't have row crop anymore. So we're trying to really let it grow up. We've got a pasture with a swamp behind it. So, we knew we had some deer there, but, I've been seeing a lot. I saw this deer during bow season, couldn't get it close enough. But I was hunting there, and I had numerous bucks come in. And I actually had an 8-point that I had set my sights on. I had taken the safety off. I had my finger on the trigger. I was about to shoot it, and I looked up. And on the back creek, I can see Big Boy coming. I'm like, oh, my gosh. But I'm thinking, Big Boy, this one, I have a huge 6-point that's got to be 18 to 20 inches wide. I mean, he's huge.
It's a big one.
You've seen him on camera.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I'm like, here he is. I'm shooting. Heck, with the 8-point, I'm going to the 6, know. So I'm waiting for it to come in, and he gets broadside with about 83 yards, and I take the shot, and he takes off running. So you know me.
Right.
If he runs, I'm taking another shot.
Correct.
So I send another one its way. It didn't hit it, but luckily the first one did. So I wait, and I have more bucks come back into the pasture. So I saw 7 bucks that afternoon, and I finally get down. I got to run them off because I got to look for this deer. It's dark now, but I waited till I was trying to get them to get out of the way. But, it took a little bit, and I get down, and there's blood. I trail the blood. And he had circled all the way. When I saw him take off, he took off in a direction totally opposite of where he came from. But the blood trail just kind of stopped after, I trailed it for a little bit, then finally picked it back up 10 yards later just by walking in a different direction. And I finally find this deer, and he's laying in a hole, and he was exactly along that fence line on that back creek where I first spotted him. And I get to him, and I go, oh, my gosh. I said, it's not the 6-point. I said, this is the 9-point. This sucker weighed 220 pounds. Now remember, we're in South Alabama.
Right.
You don't get that. But this deer, the last one I've shot, so far, I got to get 2 more. So hopefully it won't be the last of the season. But what's so special about it? It's on the farm, and it's one of those. It's just special to me.
Yeah, we've been watching that deer for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced it's not that buck from last year either.
Yeah, see, remember we had that 11 point last year.
Right.
And I didn't kill anything on the farm last year. I killed an 8 the year before. But, we just, things are a little bit different now because we've let it grow up. We've planted some trees. So we're getting a nice little place out there. Well, we're getting close to the end now. So we want to let y'all know, thanks for listening to our podcast. And anything you want to add?
Yeah. So if you have any funny bathroom emergency stories from the woods, send them to us.
Okay.
You can message us on Facebook, Instagram.
And I think we're going to be able to set up on our podcast. I think there's a message button that we're going to open up soon to do that. I think if we can get that done.
Yeah.
But if not, if we can't get that done, make sure you do that on Facebook.
Yeah,
or
follow
something.
us on Facebook or Instagram and send us these messages because the goal is once we get a few of them here in a couple of weeks, read some of them.
And tell some more of our own.
And tell some of our own.
So we're trying to, that one's pretty much going to be one of those funny episodes all the way through.
Correct.
Not as serious.
Right.
All right. Well, we thank y'all for tuning in. Just remember what we always say. If you're not in the woods and on the water, you don't know what you're missing.